Good morning. I'm New York State Attorney General Schneiderman. Thank you for joining us here today. We are here in court because today we are going to court to file an order to show cause against a major financial institution, HSBC Bank USA and HSBC Mortgage Corporation USA, as a part of our ongoing effort to ensure that homeowners across New York State receive the legal protections to which they are entitled, and that we continue our all-levers approach to making sure those in financial services who actually contributed to the crash of the housing market in the first place do everything that they are lawfully entitled to do to provide the relief to those injured as a result of that crash. Our office has already taken major steps to address this issue in a variety of areas. We were the only office, I was the first Attorney General in the country to refuse to enter into a national mortgage servicing settlement until the terms were stiffened, and there was an agreement by the federal government to create an unprecedented state-federal task force to investigate the cause of the financial collapse and the role of banks in that collapse. We set up again, the only state in the country to do it, a network called the Homeowner Protection Program, or HOP, of legal services providers and housing counselors all across the state of New York, so that no New Yorker has to face foreclosure or go into negotiations with the bank without having the guidance and help they need. As a result of that, we have done better on the basis of how many homes we had underwater than any other state in the country. HUD initially estimated that the first mortgage settlement would give New York families about $600 million in home relief, principal reductions, rate reductions. In the first 10 months of the program, we've already gotten $2 billion of relief and are keeping thousands of families in their homes. In the first 6 months of the HOP program, we saw over 12,000 families, and more than a third of them already have loan modifications underway. We also recently announced that we've given notice to a monitoring committee that we will sue Bank of America and Wells Fargo for failure to comply with the timelines in the servicing settlement, and our office is also, as a part of the State Federal Working Group, brought two major platform cases against financial institutions for the bad loans and bad packages of loans that were sold as securities that blew up the American economy. Today, we are here to announce another step in our all-levers approach. Another financial institution is engaging in clearly illegal conduct, and we are here to make sure that they abide by the law. New York state law requires that mortgage lenders, servicers, and agents who sue to foreclose on any New York homeowner file a request for judicial intervention at the time they file their proof of service with the county clerk. Filing this RJI is what triggers the 60-day clock for the court to convene a mandatory settlement conference between the bank and the homeowners. This is the homeowner's best shot to renegotiate their loan, to save their home. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. Mick Jagger was wrong if you're a homeowner. Time is not on your side. What happens when there's delay is you go further into debt, fees and penalties mount up, and it becomes harder and harder to have a successful renegotiation. So we have learned that banks are avoiding this conference by simply violating court rules and not filing the request for judicial intervention, or RJI, form. This lawsuit seeks to enforce that law against HSBC, but I would emphasize that this is only our first step. The illegal conduct that is leaving thousands of homeowners in limbo, and the Office of Court Administration has estimated that what we call the shadow docket of people who are in foreclosure but can't get to a conference probably is as high as 25,000 families across New York. So this action will establish the obligation of HSBC to promptly convene the settlement conference. It will also set a precedent for other institutions. Our lawsuit documents over 300 instances that we found in which HSBC has failed to file the RJI. We have a nice box of them that we're going to be walking down to the clerk's office as we file this action shortly. And this creates an absolute nightmare for homeowners facing foreclosure. They're in foreclosure. They don't have anything to do. They can't renegotiate. They're not sure whether to pay or not pay. And they do go further and further into debt. I want to emphasize that these 300 instances, or almost 300 instances, were the product of an intensive search by our attorneys in 4 counties, and it was just a sampling of HSBC cases. This does not even constitute a thorough review of all of the failures by HSBC, much less other banks, to file the RJI form and get the clock ticking for a settlement conference. In some cases, they have waited more than 2 years to file the RJI, and many people are losing their homes as a result of this abuse. Today, you will hear from Tracy McClary, who was devastated by HSBC's failure to file an RJI when it should have. You will also hear from community advocates who will explain how these cases affect not just the homeowner, but the whole neighborhood around that homeowner. And I want to say that the work the folks in our office did on this case was challenging, but we are seeking relief from the bank that will require the bank itself to perform a full accounting of every case in which it has not filed an RJI in a timely manner, to waive all fees that started accruing after the 60-day clock ran out and they should have convened a settlement conference, to enable homeowners to get restitution for interest and penalties that they have already paid in cases like that, and to grant any other damages the homeowners can prove. This is the first proceeding. We expect to prevail on this, and we hope that other banks seeing this will immediately come into compliance. If they do not, we can bring similar actions against them. So now I'd like to introduce our first guest, who I was fortunate enough to spend time with last night at our community forum, and a great fighter for homeowners in Erie County, and really a leader in these efforts across the state, County Executive Mark Poloncarz.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. It is my pleasure to join you here today during the announcement of this lawsuit. Unfortunately, this is the kind of thing that we are working on in government because we don't want to be spending time doing this. We don't want to have to be spending time, but we need to protect homeowners and to protect individuals from bad practices. HSBC may have a tremendous amount of assets here with people working here, but we have to send a message as a government that we will not tolerate improper practices. We will not tolerate what is in some ways making individuals a prisoner in their own home and then ensuring that they never get out and can never afford to pay their debts associated with mortgages that go bad. Prior to being comptroller, and before becoming county executive, I practiced law. And while I primarily focused in the business and finance area, I did a lot of work helping individuals associated with foreclosures and bankruptcies. And what we often found back then is banks were not receptive to talking to the attorneys, talking to the individuals to find ways to help individuals stay in their home, coming up with payment plans to ensure that those individuals who fall behind are not in this endless cycle of debt, but actually live and stay in that home. Rules were passed after the Great Recession, the near depression of 2008 and 2009, to ensure that that cycle would end. Unfortunately, as is shown by the Attorney General in his office, it's not ending, and banks are ignoring the rules and they're perpetuating a system in which individuals, if they fall behind, can never get out from the debt that's accumulating, and the banks refuse to actually do anything to ensure that those people have an opportunity to move forward. So that's why I'm proud to be here today to not only endorse the efforts by the Attorney General and his office, but to say that it has to stop in Erie County. We have representatives from across Erie County here today, Supervisor Sheila Meagan, Councilmember Charlie Markell. These towns have been negatively impacted as a result of bad actions by banks with regards to holding mortgages on individuals and not allowing those individuals to get out from under their debt. We have to see this stop. And even if HSBC has a tremendous presence in Erie County and Western New York, we have to send a message. Your improper tactics are not acceptable. You will be held accountable for your illegal actions. And today we join here united to send that message and to ensure that people realize that if you do fall behind in your mortgages, you do have an opportunity to get out from it, and you don't fall under this endless cycle where you're stuck in a home that you can't pay for and the banks refuse to move forward and your house is in foreclosure, which destroys all of your credit for anything else that you want to do. And that's why I'm pleased to be here today. And I hope that the Attorney General, if other banks refuse to heed the message that he's sending today, does the same thing in other communities that he's doing here today, suing those banks to say enough is enough. You need to represent the people and protect the people, not take advantage of them, and that's why I'm pleased to be here today. And at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce our great comptroller of the city of Buffalo, a watchdog for the people in the city of Buffalo, I know, who's been advocating for this issue as well, Mark Schroeder.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And it's hard not to offer first a historical perspective because we're in the most beautiful building. And many of you may know that this was a ceremonial cemetery, burial ground for those who served in the War of 1812. And then in 1876, this beautiful building opened up. It was County City Hall. And it was at the time of Grover Cleveland, who then became governor and president. So there's going to be a good future for you, Mr. Attorney General. Also, William McKinley laid in state here in 1901 after he was assassinated. But let me tell you why I believe it's profound that our Attorney General is here today. It's profound because there are 4 turrets on top of this building. 4 statues. They're about 16 feet tall. They weigh 40 ton, and they're made out of granite. And the one on the northeast corner, Mr. Attorney General, represents Justice. Lady Justice is up on this building. And so your announcement today, Mr. Attorney General, is an announcement of justice on behalf of the 25,000 people across New York State who are in this mortgage quagmire. And the 200 cases in particular that you and your office have identified here with HSBC involved in the Buffalo area. Justice is what the Attorney General does. The 3 largest divisions that he's responsible for in the Attorney General's office is Criminal Justice Division, Economic Justice Division, and the Social Justice Division. All 3 of these divisions have an impact on what the Attorney General is announcing today. So finally, let me just say that I admire you, Eric Schneiderman. You're not afraid. You stood up respectfully. You stood up respectfully to the President of the United States, to the federal government. You refused to have executive amnesia. You continue to scrutinize the subprime meltdown and the financial crisis that was created. HSBC is in for a long haul with you. And this isn't the first time they've been a defendant. They've been a defendant in other things for tax evasion investigations. They were sued by Charles Schwab investors, but they've never gone up against Eric Schneiderman. It is a good day for the people of Buffalo and for the people of the state of New York. And the Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman, is examining the accuracy and the timeliness of the financial reporting on behalf of the people of New York. And I will tell you, Councilman Chris Scanlon, Majority Leader Damone Smith, your former colleague, Senator Tim Kennedy, they have a very keen interest in this, and I know all of your partners in government, Mr. Attorney General, will be working with you as you embark on this opportunity to help people.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Controller Schroeder. And now I'd like to introduce Tracy McClary, an Erie County resident who will be able to provide us with a first-hand account of the damage the shadow docket causes. It is unbelievable that 25,000 families are on this docket, and today we take the most concrete step anyone has taken to getting people off of it. In the meantime, families are being hurt, communities are being hurt, and as the controller can tell you, it hurts tax revenues, it hurts local governments as well. But with their account of what actually happened to her, we're very pleased that she has the strength and the courage to stand with us here today. Tracy, why don't you tell us about your story?
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, Attorney General. I'm happy to be here today to share my story. After falling behind in my mortgage payment several years ago, HSBC filed foreclosure action. This occurred in October 2010. But HSBC did not file the RJI form as it is legally obligated to do. In fact, the RJI form was not filed until July 2012, over a year and a half later. Going through the process to try to get a loan modification has been a nightmare. I was able to obtain a loan modification on my own in July of 2011. But because of issues with paperwork that I had notarized and sent in and liens on the property, the modification was rejected by HSBC. Thankfully, I was able to work with the Western New York Law Center, and after my settlement conference began in August 2012, I have been able to obtain a trial payment modification. But I still don't know what's going to happen after the trial payments have ended. I'm currently working 2 jobs to try to make these payments, which are now almost double the amount of my original home loan. There are lots of other people like me, hardworking people who fell behind on their mortgage payments and became trapped in this legal limbo. Because HSBC delayed the filing of the RJI and the subsequent delay in obtaining a settlement conference for myself, there will be thousands of dollars added to my principal loan. If the settlement conference took place 60 days after HSBC filed the proof of service, like it's supposed to do, I would have been able to obtain a loan modification much quicker, and I would owe less than I owe today. I commend the Attorney General for working to help people who have been held hostage by Hong Kong Bangkok's illegal delay in the filing of the RJI. And I thank you all for letting me share my story.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Tracy. We have, in our sampling of 4 counties, come up with almost 300 examples like Tracy's. One of the things that we are demanding in our request for relief is a full accounting by HSBC so we can get out there all of the other thousands of people who may have suffered similar damages. Again, if you are delayed, your chance for a good modification fades away with every passing week. And our last 2 guests come to us from People for Sustainable Housing, or Push Buffalo, and they're going to talk about the negative impacts of the shadow docket and of cases like Tracy's on our neighborhoods and our communities here in Erie County. Jennifer McCosey is the Director of Community Organizing for Push Buffalo, and Maxine Murphy is the Board Chair. So thank you for joining us now.
Hello, everyone. So PUSH members, people in the community, the people I work with every day, we struggle with issues like high gas bills, foreclosures, and vacant housing. And this is prevalent on the West Side as well as all over. We're a West Side-based community organization. But we look to build power at the grassroots level to move our neighborhoods forward by transforming these properties into quality, affordable housing, building community gardens, and working on big projects projects like a community park that had, kind of went to the dogs, and then the community built it up, working with the city to a beautiful state that it is in now. And we're here today because we believe that holding big banks, which is what they are, accountable for following the law is critical for saving our neighborhoods and putting our economy back on track. This reckless behavior has caused, and as we heard, the financial crisis and the bad economy that we're facing today. And we want to thank Attorney General for standing up for homeowners who have suffered as banks violate foreclosure procedures and often fail to take the responsibility for properties they've been foreclosed on. Today is one step further in the long battle ahead to holding these big banks accountable to community standards and the law. Thank you, Attorney General, for moving us in the right direction by, in the past, committing settlement funds into community organizations that does foreclosure prevention work. We believe that future settlements could also help community revitalization efforts. PUSH is working with groups across this nation on foreclosure, one of our affiliates, Nationwide National People's Action. So we've seen this, and we're facing this on a local level, but we're also seeing what is happening nationwide. And Maxine Murphy here can talk a little bit of what's going on a local level for us.
Good morning, everyone. The impact that foreclosure have, the people living in the neighborhood across western New York are the ones who suffer when banks act recklessly. In our neighborhood, there are dozens of homes sitting vacant because of banks' failure to take responsibility. We have seen a particularly bad practice of partial foreclosure, when banks begin the foreclosure process but fail to take title to the property and its rights. I've seen vacant homes decrease property values, attract crimes, and have a negative impact. Those houses are used for drug use and storage. They're used for living quarters for the homeless. And we have also seen a rash of fires in the last few years that these houses that has been allowed to just sit there vacant. And the truth is, we at the community level have the skills and knowledge to do something productive with those foreclosed homes. PUSH, as one example, has taken ownership of dozens of vacant homes and put them on a track to become high-quality, affordable housing. Settlements with banks for bad practices, like the one highlighted today, should flow back to the communities taking steps to control their own destiny. And we are thankful for the Attorney General and putting the neighborhood back together, and we as PUSH are proud to be taking a positive step in that effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take some questions, and then we're going to file our order to show cause. But the reason we are here is that my office has a commitment to use every lever available and every tool in our legal toolbox, including tools no one has ever tried before, to force banks to take responsibility for something regular New Yorkers do every day, which is to follow the law. We are here because we believe that no one is above the law and that you have to restore public confidence that there's one set of rules for everybody. When a bank like HSBC flagrantly disregards the law and systematically hurts homeowners all across our state, they have to be held accountable. This is about equal justice under law. This is about saving our homeowners, and this is about putting New York on the right track to financial recovery and restoring the public's confidence that there is one set of rules for everyone.